This is Adamantly Analog, episode 47. This week, we're talking about Desert Island Publishers.
Hello and welcome to Adamantly Analog, a board gaming podcast. I'm your host, Harrison Dunn.
And I'm Harrison Dunn.
We have to do that over again. You did it bad. All right, let's do it again. Hello, this is a board gaming podcast. My name is Corey Murphy.
And I'm Harrison Dunn.
Perfect. Got it. There we go. Excellent. No notes.
No crumbs.
You know what? I'm glad you started with that energy because I feel like we got to get weird today. Let's get weird.
Why is that?
Well, you know, it's just so hard to come up with like good topics for episodes. And we're not even 50 episodes in, and we're already like scratching the bottom of the barrel here.
These are the bad ones. No,
yeah,
these are the first 50.
These are the real bad ones. And don't even listen to the first 50. Listen to like the first 35. But we just 10 episodes ago, in episode 36, we talked about, Desert Island board games. But Corey, what if instead of bringing just 3 board games to a desert island, you brought 3 board game publishers?
Yeah.
Like, whatever that definition means. You're just like, you get on an airplane and, oh no, it crash lands, but you were also on an airplane with the entirety of 3 board game publishers and maybe
their inventory
and manufacturing pipeline and everything. But oh no, you're stuck on an island with them. You want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that. And
okay,
honestly,
cool.
this is pretty apt right now because with the tariff stuff going on, there are board game publishers that are folding left and right, and it's scary. Did you see the Greater Than Games announcement today?
Sure did. Yep.
Yeah.
So we are recording this on April 17th, where tariffs are at currently 145% on China.
Yeah.
But if you're listening to a board game podcast, you probably know this, but the majority of board games are manufactured in China. So that's a little bit difficult. I will say right now, with Thunderworks Games, I think I'm good for now. I don't think Thunderworks is going to have to make a layoff or big, downsizing agreement because we don't really have much to downsize to. There's only 5 of us. But not only the Greater Than Games thing, I'm starting to see people just pop up in my news feeds with, hey, I'm looking for a job now. I loved my time at this place. So, yeah, that's a lot of doom and gloom. And that's just the board game industry, right? This is where you come to for your hobbies and relaxation. And it's happening everywhere. So you know what you can do, Corey? You can pause this podcast right now. You can go on the Googles or whichever search engine you want to use, go use Bing or whatever. Look up your representative, look up your senator, call them right now. Just pause the podcast, call your representatives and say, hey, I've had enough of this trade war nonsense, and make your voice heard.
I mean, if you're using Bing, you're probably sending them a telegraph though, right? Or maybe some snail mail.
Yeah. But go do that. Go call, make your voice heard. Every voice counts. It really does at this point. Fun times for sure. But to your note, the nice thing is that the board games we have right now, those are physical things. They're not like video games where our licenses to access them could suddenly get revoked if Steam decided to go Darkest Timeline 2.
Yeah.
So share your games with your friends. Maybe start like an open games library with your friends. Corey and I pass games back and forth. Find some friends, pass your games back and forth. Those things are played. They were expensive to make. And if money's going to get tight for you and you decide that you can't spend money on board games, which is probably the reality for a lot of people out there, remember that this is a hobby that loves to share experiences with people. So there's no reason that you can't enjoy the games that you and your friends already have too. We said we were going to get weird, not serious, Corey.
Let's get weird now. Okay, how are we going to do that?
Yeah, let's keep it weird. So what have you been playing recently, Corey?
Not so weird, but I have been playing Skyrise. And Skyrise is sweet. And I'd say it's a weird production. There's that. Have you heard of this one, Harrison?
I have heard of it. I have seen it. I've seen it played, but I've never been at the table when it gets busted out.
Okay, yeah, this is the 2024 game from Roxley, and it is one of those games that looks much heavier than it turns out to be because of its intense production. Like it's way over the top. And we played the deluxe version of it at a friend's house, in which I mean each player has about 15 little sculpted pieces, and each one is a different sculpt. Like even between players, there's like 50 of these individually sculpted pieces in this game that represent these skyscrapers. And what you're doing in the game is you're placing them on a board to bid on control of a space. And the hook here is that the bids are it can only be placed adjacent to the previous bid. So you're kind of like chaining these bids across the map. And then when everyone eventually passes and they say, okay, no, 75, too rich for my blood, I'm out. Whoever has the last standing bid is the one that actually gains control of the space that their bid token is on. Then they flip their piece over and they have a skyscraper there. And of course, you're trying to fulfill different scoring conditions and area control of one of 5 different islands. But other than that, there's not a lot to this game. It is pretty straightforward. So, like I said, it reminds me of something like Foundations of Rome that has just this insane production, but the game is actually very approachable, and I think that surprises some people. On top of that, it's pretty unique, and I thought it was really fun too. So, there are like more affordable versions of this game other than the deluxeified version of it, and they have wooden pieces instead of these sculpts. They have a flat board instead of this very bizarre, unnecessary three-dimensional floating island thing that's going on in the deluxe version. If you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's kind of ridiculous
Yep. Oh yeah, this thing is wild.
and completely unnecessary, but that's okay. But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. And the production doesn't just stop at the pieces, too. The cards are all these sort of gilded, foily backs. The player boards, for some reason, they're double sided, dual layer player boards because they have like little inserts for the tokens you collect on the map.
Hmm.
And when you flip the board over, there's a whole nother set of options there. But the only difference between one side and the other is the art. There's like no player powers or anything. It's just the art and the name of the person that you're playing as. And it just doesn't matter. It's completely superfluous to the game.
Sounds cool.
So I mean they spared no expense there and I'm sure you pay for it. I don't know the price of this thing, but
I
it's
just
all
looked it
out.
up. Their website, the basic edition, the essential edition is 65.
Okay.
And then they have a collector's edition, which is 95, and a premium collector's edition, which is 125.
Uh-huh.
I'm not gonna look at the versions right now. Oh wait, there's a big compare versions button. Uh, the only comparison that matters though is that the Essentials edition, the cheapest 165, is out of stock on their website. So there's that.
Yeah. So I mean, the production is like the most obvious thing, but like I said, I did enjoy the game, and I think for $65, I do think you get your money's worth for the basic version of it too, because there's it's still very nice, and
Hmm.
the game is of quality. It's not just a purely sold game that's purely sold by its toy factor. So, would recommend. I would like to play it again. It was very interactive and excitingly so. There's some really clever things you could do and some nice little combos you can kind of chain off when you sort of pin yourself in a corner and no one else can get involved in the bids and you're just kind of snatching up pieces. So, that was always fun to discover those little spots. And yeah, well, it took us 3 hours to play.
Yeah.
It's probably more like an hour a game. We had a distractible crowd playing, and it was kind of late at night, and there was some drinks involved. So that is Skyrise. How about you, Harrison?
I got a copy of Flutter from Phase Shift Games
Mhm.
just on a whim, like a month or two ago. I just happened into it, like you do when you hang around a lot of board game people.
Uh-huh.
And this was they have like a special. It's called Meadowwood version or Meadowwood edition. So Flutter is a tile placement game about building a meadow full of pollinators and flowers. And
Hmm.
you do this by placing tangram shaped pieces. So they're all permutations of like triangles. There's 5 different shapes. There's like a big a big parallelogram and a really long piece, and then like a diamond. And so there's very different shapes. And you are placing and trying to surround tiles completely to score the pollinators in them. But then you also can make empty triangles around the board and fill them in with these water tiles that score you extra points. So there's this like really cool spatial puzzle. And as I was playing it, I'm like, this is what I wanted Tangram City to be. Like,
Mhm.
I wanted a fairly light but still interesting tile laying game that played around with the different like shapes that you can make out of triangles. So the Meadowwood version is made with all wooden pieces. All the tiles are wooden,
Ooh.
and they're like this like lacquered tile version. They feel super nice. And
Mhm.
we the game is fairly light, fairly quick, and we played a round of it in like 30 minutes. It's just so satisfying to touch and feel these pieces, and the production is sustainable too. What was the acronym is FSC compliant, so for Forest Stewardship Council compliant materials. So sustainably sourced wood and all everything for this production. So it's about nature, it's about the importance of pollinators and stuff, and it's sustainably produced and sourced, which is super cool. I don't know, it was very pleasant. I was like, normally when I get games like this, just through the board game industry, I think, okay, I don't know if this is for me or not. And
Yeah.
turns out this was a pleasant surprise. I really enjoyed it. So I'm happy to share this with more people and get it to the table again soon.
Yeah, I'm looking at my shelf and I have so many heavy games on there that I'm thinking if ever I have an hour to spare, I would be hard pressed to find something that I'm really excited to play. So it's good to add some of these to your collection. I talked about Gentle Rain. I don't know, it
Hmm.
was last week or 2 weeks ago, but that was one that surprised me, and that it was just a good time. You take the game out, you enjoy it. You don't have to think too hard about the setup or the rules, and you just kind of vibe. And
Yep.
I get the feeling that some of these more abstract games where you're just puzzling things together provide good opportunities for that kind of brain space.
Cool. Shall we head into our topic, or do you want to talk about your other game?
Oh yeah, just a real quick note on this one. I'll cover this in more depth when I get into the expansion content, but I did receive my copy of Innovation Ultimate, which is the latest rendition of the Innovation series, or I should say, it's kind of like the latest big box version of the Innovation series. It is not the only one, but this one just came out here in 2025. In fact, I think backers are just getting it in the last month or so. But basically, what this is it is the base game Innovation, which is the Carl Chudyk classic, the designer of Glory to Rome, of course. The box includes the base game along with the 4 expansions that exist, all of them, plus a brand new one called The Unseen. And it takes all of those expansions and it pushes them up an additional age, an additional era. So the game previously ended at era 10, and now all of these go up to 11. And it's almost like Spinal Tap, where like your amp could just stop at 10, but it's more rock and roll if you go up to 11, because you don't often even see the cards in the 11th deck in this game. It's just, they're just there to be, oh yeah, one day we'll hit those.
Yep. I was just about to say this game goes to 11 now.
Yeah. But the whole idea with Innovation, this is kind of a bizarro card game. It's very interactive. It honestly feels to me kind of like the engine building that goes on in a game of Commander. Um, you're either drawing cards, playing cards, or activating cards for what they call their dogma effects. And anytime you activate an effect, you're comparing the number of symbols that's associated with that effect on your cards in your tableau with your opponent's cards in their tableau. If they have the same amount or more than you, they also get to do that effect. Some effects are kind of, they're called I demand effects. I don't want to say combative, but they require that other players give you things or remove things from their tableau. And those can only be demanded of opponents who have fewer of the tags than you do. So it's always that kind of comparison game. It's kind of a tug of war in 5 or 6 different categories at a time. And it's a race to claim whatever number of achievements is appropriate for the player count. An achievement is to dominate the era by having a threshold of points and then taking an action to claim that era, or to satisfy a certain setup of requirements on an achievement card.
I played Innovation a handful of times on BGA of all places.
Okay, yeah,
And I was very intrigued by it. I love the idea of the big stack of multi-use cards thing that
yeah.
Mr. Chuddick is very well known for doing. But I could not find anyone to play it with me.
Uh,
and trying to play that game with randoms on BGA is not a good experience.
yeah, it's
This is like the type of game that I think I'd only want to play in person.
it is very unusual. I'd say when you first look at it and learn how to play it, it takes a minute to kind of wrap your head around it, which I think is a Carl Chudyk-ism. There's just very unique ideas in these games. All of them, well, a lot of them are very card based, and like Harrison mentioned, the multi-use card thing. It's a big factor in Glory to Rome, of course, and to a lesser extent in innovation, but still is there. But this is one that, if you can get over the fact that it's kind of like artless in a way, it's just a bunch of symbols and colors.
Mhm.
There's a lot of really cool depth to it. And the hook is that the base game is only like 100 cards, and there's so many different combinations of those cards to explore and discover, and so many of them that feel really broken that when you start to do something, you just push the button until you run out of steam. And while you do that and your opponent's trying to catch up, eventually they gain some edge and advantage that they can start pushing the button. And it really is kind of fun how it goes back and forth. But I'll just say I've been pretty obsessed with this game in the last couple of days. We've been playing it on BGA as well, and I'm eager to get into the expansion content. So perhaps we'll add this to our list, Harrison. If this is something you're interested in playing some more, we have it here.
I was just about to say, let's put it on the list. A list that
Yeah.
now actually exists. That we
Oh, did you make one?
dear listeners, every time we've been saying put it on the list, it's kind of been like an inside joke with me and Corey and you, the listener. Well, now it's a real list. This is a joke no more.
Yeah, well, we just before starting to record, we were thinking, what's on our list? We're finally going to see each other for the first time in a couple of months. What can we play that we have been talking about playing? I know that there's at least 150 games that we've mentioned that about, and for some reason, we struggled to come up with them when it was actually time to act on it.
At least. So the actual list has about 10 games on it now, which is a good
Uh,
start. Yeah, we won't play that in one day.
we can knock those out in like, I don't know. We can speed run them. Drink a
Play
bunch of
3 at a
coffee.
time.
Yeah.
I take my turn in this game, you take your turn in that game. There
Yep.
we go. All right, Corey, well, it's about time we get to this wacky old topic of ours. This is publishers we wouldn't mind being stuck on a desert island with, as long as they brought all their people and their production chain and you wouldn't have to pay tariffs if you're making the game on the desert island and then shipping it to the desert island.
Mhm.
So I liked the first player rule from Flutter. That is the player who most recently marveled at the wonders of nature.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I'd say 2 days ago as I drove home, I was looking at a bunch of gangly trees thinking, they just think about the tree wisdom that they could have, the things that they've seen. If trees could talk, man.
I took my dog outside and thought, wow, I wonder when all that dog poop's gonna go away that was revealed by the winter snow.
When was that?
That was today.
Okay, you win. You win. You were
Uh,
looking at dog poop more recently.
I if you want to think I marvel at dog poop, I'm not going to stop you. But
Hey, before we get into this one, though, I have to ask a clarifying question. And being that you're in the industry, Harrison, maybe you can enlighten us laymen, us civilians. As as I started to research this topic, I would search games on BGG based on the publishers, and when you click on something like, I don't know, let's say Z-Man Games, you find that the games that Z-Man is kind of the initial publisher for, like has some hands in the process. And then there's plenty of games that Z-Man just carries or distributes for different countries, for example. How are we differentiating between those for the purpose of our list?
uh, it's whatever you want. I mean, so the reason you see that is exactly that, is localization. Uh, like we work with other publishers overseas to distribute our games in other countries because they just have a better setup for there. For Thunderworks to sell games directly in a different country, that usually means we have to have some I think it's tax representation or otherwise. And so if we want to sell in a different country, it might be better to license that game directly to another company for them to do it, and then they can print more if they want. That I'm not involved with that piece of it. I'm just like what I picked up from being close to it. So
Mm,
that's why you'll see like games that have multiple publishers on the box, or when you go on to the BGG page for it and it's got 3 publishers listed, that's usually why. So you'd have to like
right.
dig into it to see who the original publisher was, or what country that was from, and then who the localization partners are. Ultimately, for the point of this conversation, this is just like a let's pick one, have fun with it, and talk about games.
Yeah, I figured that was the case, and that's how I built my list. But I thought maybe we should acknowledge that because it is a thing. And when you click on these publishers, it can be confusing using BGG as a source
Hmm.
for who comes from which publisher. Well, is there a name for that? Would you call them just the original publisher in that case? If they're the ones that were there for the process, there to kind of test and develop the games.
I mean, uh, I don't know. No, I would just say it's publisher and localization publisher.
There you go. Okay,
Sure.
cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyways, since you looked at dog poop today, why don't you go ahead and start us off?
Yeah. All right. Perfect. So I purposely wanted to keep the nature of this question vague. I was talking to Lauren about what we're going to discuss today, and she's like, "So, wait, does this mean you are trapped on a desert island with every single person who works there, or just their games, or what?" And I was like, "I don't know. It's all of them." And I
Yeah.
had fun taking different interpretations of this question. So, for my first publisher, I I was like, what is someone that I love their games, and having all of the people there would make being on a desert island significantly less lonely because there's a ton of people. And this probably feels like a cheat with that in mind because it's Wizards of the Coast, right? We've got great games. We've got the Lords of Waterdeep. We've got all the D&D games that they license out. We've got Dungeons and Dragons itself. We've got Magic the Gathering. And you've got all those great people that work at Wizards of the Coast and make awesome games. So, I mean, if I had to just pick 3 publishers that I would only interact with their stuff or those people for the rest of forever or for the foreseeable future, Wizards of the Coast would be a strong candidate for that. And I guess now's a good time to say, hey, I'm not picking Thunderworks games because I like, of course I would do that if I was actually going to be stuck on a desert island.
Hmm.
Like I'm gonna protect my people, but
Yep.
for the sake of the content and having fun with it, that's where we're going with this. So yeah, I mean, you'd be hard pressed to find someone with a cooler range of games. Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
imagine being able to draft every single evening around a campfire, and then you wake up and do build huts in the sun to protect yourself so you can play more board games with all these cool people.
Hmm. And just imagine, I mean, if you're on a desert island and you plan on being there for a long time, you might as well pick someone that produces an expandable card game, right? So that they can just keep on developing new material for the same concepts and
Right,
just-
exactly. And then when we run out of all the trees because we're turning them all into
yeah.
paper for cards, then we can just burn the old draft sets.
Proxy all the new set on leaves from a tree. Yeah.
Yep, yep. There you go.
Being a Magic player for a long time, I've always been curious and interested in being part of the conversation on developing new ideas for the game. And I'm sure that's not unique to me. I'm sure every player has thought about that. Remember they used to do the "You Design the Card" contest?
I remember they did the Great Designer Search a couple
That
times,
yeah,
but
that's what I mean. I'm
oh,
sorry. The
okay,
Great
yeah, yeah,
Designer Search. Yeah. Yeah, and it was like people were competing to design cards for the company, and it
yeah,
was like this it was something that everyone was like, "Oh, that would be such an honor to be a part of that," and like how cool it would be to like have a say in how the set turns out. And yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be fun? Might as well bring them
yeah,
along on a desert island. You have plenty to talk
yeah,
about.
yeah. Absolutely, 100%. I have a whole Google Sheets file of card brews that I did. I used to participate
Yeah.
in was it mtgsalvation.com had a homebrew or like card brewing sub forum, and they would have
Yep.
weekly contests, and I have like 100 cards or so that I brewed up while while participating in that. I sent them to our mutual friend John, and he even proxied one up and printed one out for me as part
Oh,
of that
dang.
recent gift. Yeah, so I've got one of my custom cards in an actual card form now.
Nice.
Yeah. So yeah, Wizards of the Coast. Feels a bit cheaty, but you know what? So what? I'm sticking with it. They make a lot of cool games.
Wow, that's totally relevant. And they do make board games too, traditional board games. Because I know I had some Dungeons and Dragons themed games. I mean, Lords of Waterdeep, there's one, right?
Yeah, Tyrants of the Underdark. I'd be happy to finally get my hand on one of those.
Yep. Okay, my first one is a slam dunk. I think I didn't have to give this much thought. This came to mind right away. But Fireland, I mean, come on. Like tons of my favorite games come from this publisher. And I made a list just so I didn't forget because there's a bunch of them. But with Fireland, you get Ark Nova, Feast for Odin, Gaia Project, Terra Mystica, and going back to that localization thing, they do handle some Stonemaier stuff, so it's a little cheaty add to that. But again, I said I wasn't going to do
There you
that, and I
go.
did anyway. So yeah, I mean, we're on a desert island. We got plenty of time. Might as well play only 3-hour games, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna be hard to set up a number of these in the sand on the beach, but we could probably find a nice rock with enough sunlight to read all the rules and maybe some light wind at the most so that we don't lose everything that we set up. But yeah, I think there's a lot of great stuff here, and there's a lot of great stuff that I haven't yet played that I've been eager to try. Age of Innovation, Black Forest. Yeah, I mean, let's do it. Fireland.
Yep, that is super solid. That was on my short list too. I was looking over at Terra Mystica like,
Yeah.
yeah, I would play that for forever. All right. Well, for my second pick, I went a little bit different direction on this one. So, take you on a little journey here. How do people end up on a desert island? You think one of the probabilities is that you're on vacation on a cruise or you're flying, and then that method of transportation crashes and you wind up on a desert island. So,
Mhm.
with that in mind, uh, I'm on a plane with a bunch of people from this publisher, and they have also crashed with me. And because games from Devir are so hard to get back into the box because they're just jam packed, I assume everyone who works at Devir would also pack their suitcase perfectly,
Oh,
right?
yeah. Mhm.
So you wind up on a desert island with everyone from Devere. You can guarantee that all the stuff that they packed with them, even if it like fell out or got lost in the plane, what does make it there is going to be just chock full of good stuff. All right, they're going to have extra pairs of underwear, deodorant, and as many 6-ounce bottles of fluids as they're allowed to carry on an airplane or whatever it is. But that joke aside, Devere it just has like the widest variety of just cool looking, artistic, fun, awesome games. I absolutely love their like Asian magical inspired world that started with Silk, and then was it Iki's now in there, Bitoku,
Mm,
um, like all of that.
mhm.
Sand, was that one of them?
Yeah,
No, it's not
sand.
Sand.
That's it.
Yeah, Sand.
Yeah, sand.
Yeah, all of those just look super cool, and I have not played nearly enough of them. They don't always like hit right for me, so that's why I'm a little bit hesitant. But you put me on a desert island with a bunch of pretty games, and I will absolutely play them with you all day.
Yeah, and they have such a wide variety of themes too. They
Yeah,
have that kind of whimsical, mystical stuff, and then they have more historical things like Lacrimosa,
yeah.
stuff like that.
And when we run out of all those games, they're going to be the best group to brainstorm new ideas with because they got some crazy cool stuff there.
Yeah, yeah, and it's funny you talked about how the games you unpack them out of the box and you can no longer fit all the components back in the same box that they came out of. I can only imagine that these are people that when you fly to your destination, you have no problems at the baggage check, but when you fly back, they weigh more than 50 pounds all of a sudden, even though they haven't bought anything new. So it's a good thing you don't have to worry about that because you're stranded on a desert island anyway.
Well, as long as you don't get stranded on the way back, right?
Yeah,
All
true.
right, so that is my second pick, Devere.
Okay, my second pick. This one is also a slam dunk for me, and it's for similar reasons. This publisher puts out tons of my favorite games as well, but also their games are so fun and imaginative and unique and different. They all have such a different feel to them, but that is Czech Games Edition, CGE. And I mean, what's better than playing Lost Ruins of Arnak on an actual deserted island, right? That seems like the perfect
Oh,
scenery for that,
yep.
doesn't it?
There it is. Yep, there it is. You got it. Nailed it.
Yeah, or SETI, Under the Stars, where you can look up and say, yeah, I'm going to launch a probe up there and see what's going on over there. So, yeah, SETI, Through the Ages, Pulsar, Zulkine, Codenames. I mean, they've even got party games, Codenames, right? You
Yeah.
can't only play the heavy stuff. I've never played Galaxy Trucker, but that's one that I've always been interested in.
Corey, let's put it on the list.
All
I
right,
just
cool.
got a copy earlier this year, so we can put it on the list. I'm gonna
Oh,
copy and paste
sweet.
that right now.
Very good. Yeah, that's the real time one. You have to assemble your spaceship and fly it through the circuit, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
That'll be great. So if I'm in a desert island and you need something lighter, a little more silly, Galaxy Trucker's there for you. If you want to really get down to business here, Through the Ages is there for you
Oh
too.
yeah.
So
Yep. Yep. That game will take you ages to play.
yeah, I love Through the Ages though. That is a great one. Never played it in real life, but if I had infinite time, then I might as well. I hear it's just really fiddly with the the
Mhm.
cards and the little bits. Great app though. Anyways, that is CGE Czech Games Edition.
I've only played Through the Ages on the app as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. We should put that on the list as soon as one of us gets it.
I had it on my shelf for a couple of years probably, and eventually I was like, I'm never actually gonna play this.
Fair.
And it's not because I don't like the game, it's because it's fiddly.
Yep. All right. Well, my third and final pick. I attacked this from yet a third different direction. This question, and I thought you're trapped on a desert island with only natural materials. So I want someone who's going to be, real good with having sustainably sourced games or designs and produces games with sustainability in mind.
Mm,
And I mean, they have got great games too. It goes without saying, but Stonemaier has been really good at keeping an eye on sustainability and making sure that their games are created in a sustainable way. Like I know Jamie Stegmaier's been pretty open about that on his blog. They made a lot of changes and considerations for FinSpan for that, and
mm.
not only like sustainable production, but also accessible productions, making sure that like it's not overproduced and more difficult for people to get into.
Yeah, like they use
Um,
actual fish eggs as components.
it's a stinky game.
Yeah.
um, yeah, so I mean, and come on, you can't go wrong with the Span trilogy. Can we call it trilogy Span now? I
Yeah.
mean, Scythe, one of my all-time favorites, is right up there. And I still haven't played plenty of other games. I haven't played Viticulture,
Mm,
and yeah, I know, right? Or I always get this one confused. It's not Suburbia, right? No, that's
no.
that
Euphoria?
Euphoria. Yeah, I don't know why I get those two
Or
games
is that
confused
it?
because it's like EA names in their Civilization City kind of games. Yeah, Euphoria. That's the one I have not played. So that and Jamie Stegmaier seems like a cool dude. So if I have to be trapped on a desert island, I'm sure he would be a great conversation companion and hang out as well.
Yeah. Not to mention there's like infinite Rolling Realms content to explore.
Oh my gosh, think about making a Rolling Realms expansion for the beach that you're stuck on and for that palm tree that everyone avoids. Uh,
Yeah. But then your markers dry out and you can't play the game anymore.
Yes, because that would be the thing that stops us from playing it. All right, that is my third and final pick, Stonemaier Games.
Nice. All right. I thought about switching this one because I just looked over at my shelf and I was like, oh, Marvel Champions. I could do Fantasy Flight. But at the same time, Fantasy Flight games aggravate me sometimes. So they go like too heavy in the Ameritrash stuff. And it's just too many rules to look up. So it's just missed the cut. Fantasy Flight was my honorable mention. But my true number three is Board and Dice. And for similar reasons, I've approached this in a pretty consistent manner. And that is, do they make a lot of fun games that I like? And this one does. The big one that I looked at my shelf and thought, okay, what's a good publisher for this? And I saw Teotihuacan over there, and I was like, yeah, that one, Board and Dice. So we've got Teotihuacan, Tyletum, La Granja, Reef Project, Windmill Valley. They got Nucleum. There's a new Stan Kordansky game coming out, Minos. Hopefully they'll have the prototype of that on the plane when we crash. And Barcelona? I
I've
mean,
never
God.
I've never heard someone so excited about a plane crash.
Well, the premise is that we all survived, so, I'm okay with it as long as we got a bunch of board games.
There you go.
So anyways, board and dice. Any of those sound appealing to you, Harrison, or is this just too heavy? Too much thinking?
No, no, I like a lot of those games.
Okay,
I
good.
Windmill Valley has grown on me after a couple plays now. I think I enjoy it more than I originally thought I did, and I like Teotihuacan. That's a cool game. I would definitely play
Yeah.
that. La Granja, I learned on BGA. Toledo, I've played once, and that was cool. So yeah, no, I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, I played a lot of these games only once, Reef Project, Windmill Valley, Toledo, but I really liked Toledo and I really liked Windmill Valley, so I definitely want to explore more.
Yeah, certainly lots of replay value in a lot of those, and just getting to explore them, especially with the same group of people, because probably pretty easy to schedule a game night when you're all stuck together on a desert island.
Yeah, right. What are you doing tomorrow? Same thing as we always do. Board
I don't know.
games.
I think I was going to sit on that side of the island tonight.
Yeah.
All right. Well, for a strange list and a weird topic, this is our final list of publishers that we wouldn't mind being stuck on a desert island with. My list was Wizards of the Coast, Devir, and Stonemaier Games, and Corey picked Feuerland, Czech Games Edition, and Board and Dice. All right, well, that about wraps up another episode for Adamantly Analog, but, we like to talk about the things that we've been doing besides playing a ton of board games. You got anything to share with us this week, Corey?
Yeah, so I visited mutual friend John. I talked about this last time we went to the Midwest Classic Convention, and John likes to talk about Magic the Gathering. And I played Magic the Gathering, obviously, but it's been probably 2 years. And I hadn't logged into Arena until after talking to him. And I was just like thinking, maybe I'll just give it a shot again. So that was a mistake because what happens when you log into Magic the Gathering Arena for the first time in 2 years is you just get showered in packs. And I mean, like 10, 15 sets have come out since I last looked. And it's all sorts of text and new abilities and all of this stuff that I'm trying to wrap my head around. I'm just like opening pack after pack after pack. I'm like hardly reading any of the cards. And so I was checking out the formats that are going on there and what they look like. And they have this thing called Timeless on Arena. Do you know what this is, Harrison?
No, I got no idea.
Timeless is basically like nothing is banned, and you can play all of the special art versions of all the vintage cards that are really good. So it's
Okay.
basically like the legacy equivalent on Arena. You've got fetch lands, you've got shock lands, there's mana drain, dark ritual, like
Oh,
just really
geez.
powerful cards. But the one card that is the most powerful in the entire history of Magic, it doesn't matter that you got Mana Drain and Dark Ritual because you've also got the One Ring, which is the one that Post Malone sold for $1 million or whatever. But the One Ring is just an incredibly powerful card, and that format is just the One Ring over and over and over again. And it kind of takes the fun out of it, unfortunately. But it is kind of cool to play legacy cards on my computer or even on my cell phone.
I don't think I ever knew what the One Ring did. I didn't look at it.
Oh, basically it does
Oh.
everything. It it prevents you from taking any damage or being targeted for a turn after it comes into play. And then you can tap it and draw a card for each counter that's on it, and you put a counter on it when you tap it. Now,
Hmm.
it does
Oh, so
cause you
then
some damage at the beginning of your turn, but there's all sorts of ways around that, and the card advantage you get from it, it's like it doesn't even matter.
yeah, yeah. Huh, neat.
It's a really stupid card.
Yep, that's magic.
Yeah, so there you go. It's magic. It's fun. Try it.
Right after I put Wizards of the Coast on my list and cited Magic the Gathering as a plus.
Yeah, well, they take care of things like the One Ring by banning them, but this format specifically is like, nope, it's gonna be there and you're gonna like it. How about you?
Well, I am super excited to continue playing Baldur's Gate and have even maybe started playing my own save file separately because they just dropped this week their final patch.
Oh,
So they've been doing giant patches of changes and new content and stuff since the game released. And as of this week, they have released what they're calling the final patch, their final content patch.
Mhm.
So they'll still do patches on the line for like bug fixes and whatnot. But this is a big one because not only does it add a brand new subclass for every single class in the game, you've got like Path of Giant Barbarian and Death Domain Cleric and Arcane Archer Fighter, Way of the Drunken Master Monk, some really cool stuff in there. You've
Huh.
also got a photo mode for people who like that, and you've got complete crossplay, cross-platform support. So now
Oh,
you
finally.
actually can play between your PlayStation 4 and your PC friends because they can all play
Mhm.
together. So I'm really excited to dive into those new subclasses because the Hexblade Warlock was one of my favorites. I played that in one of my favorite campaigns. So I'm really excited to try that out in my primary campaign where I'm playing a Warlock. And I've tried to make a Hexblade Warlock with a regular Warlock, and it's okay. So I'm excited for Baldur's Gate 3. And if you're out there and you haven't played it in a while, there's plenty of reason to go back and tons of new content to try out. If you haven't played it yet, it's just better value. It just keeps on getting better value.
Mm. I haven't played it in some time, but this might be what it takes to get me back in there. That sounds
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah. You could be a swarm keeper ranger, and you can get a
Yeah.
swarm of jellyfish.
Yeah, I didn't think there was any shortage of content to begin with,
Oh
and I
yeah,
am just scratching the tip of the iceberg with my current play.
yep.
So it's not that. It's just talking about it gets me excited about it again. That's a fun game.
All right. Well, that actually wraps us up now. I think this is the end of our. This is
This is
episode
the
47,
end.
Corey. Holy cow!
Yeah,
We gotta stop. We gotta stop soon. We're getting out of control.
yeah. We're gonna light some fireworks off when we release episode 50. Okay.
Oh, we're gonna do that. Okay,
Sure.
fine.
Yeah. These things come out at 5 a.m. on Monday morning, so I'm gonna wake my neighbors up with that.
I'm glad we're not neighbors. Well, thank you everyone once again for listening to another episode of Adamantly Analog. If you are listening on your podcast device or on your computer or something right now, why don't you go ahead and leave us a rating, leave us a comment, click follow, tell your friends, let us know you're out there. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. Have a great one. Bye.
Thank you. Adamantly Analog is Corey Murphy and Harrison Dunn. Original themes and bumper music by Corey Murphy. Reach us at adamantlyanalog@gmail.com. Thank you for listening.